All right, welcome to this edition of Whiskey&WealthTech. I'm here in Edinburgh, Scotland, with Patrick Fowler from the Spaulding Group. So, Patrick, thank you for joining me, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me. Patrick Fowler, I'm President and COO of the Spaulding Group. We just hosted the Performance Measurement Forum, the 101st, here in Edinburgh. It's been a great event, and we did a little whiskey tasting.
Oh yes.
Last night. Did a little whiskey tasting now. Might be early at home, but it's perfect now.
Absolutely. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. But yeah, the forum's been fantastic, and so appreciate getting to participate and having the Spaulding Group put this on. So right now we're drinking the Macallan 12 sherry cask finish. So just a very nice single malt Scottish whiskey here. So let's dive right in.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Slàinte, or whatever it was.
Slàinte.
Slàinte. There we go.
That's great. I mean, I get a lot of raisin with the sherry cask finish, a lot of spice to it, so a little bit stronger flavor than some of the bourbon cask finish kind of scotches, but still really smooth, really drinkable.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I smell vanilla.
Vanilla. It's our the go-to answer if you ever have a whiskey and it has anything to do with bourbon cask finish. As our guide told us last night, always just say vanilla, and 9 times out of 10 you will be correct. So it's a little cheat for you there, but yeah, this is absolutely fantastic whiskey. So we're here in Edinburgh for the Performance Measurement Forum.
Yep. So
we've had a group of people come and share ideas and collaborate and just kind of see how other firms are doing things in the industry, just kind of getting ideas, stuff like that. And so, Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about, what was the original idea behind the forum? When did it start? Why did it start? And kind of, how has that evolved over the years? Since I think, this has been going on for about 25 years.
Yeah. Well, it's my first job at a university at Rutgers. So I met up with Dave Spaulding. He said, I got an idea for this group. That's kind of a mastermind group. The idea that you have an idea, I have an idea. When we come together, it creates a third mind, if you will, or a hive mind. And so he was aware of another group, and he said, this would be great. And so I was tasked early on with collecting people to join this group and become a member of the group. And, and when I introduced the group to people, I said, you got to experience it because it's different. It's different than a conference. It's an interactive membership group, truly. We discuss everything from risk to attribution to GIPS, stuff you may think is boring at times, but when you're in the industry, it's passion,
Yes.
And you see that around the group, and there's no shortage of back and forth, give and take,
Yeah.
It's a great thing about being part of this group. I learned so much, and everyone learns from each other. So.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's a bit academic, but I mean, one of the things I really appreciated about it is there's a lot of time for open discussion, so people can really just exchange ideas and are free to, politely disagree with one another because, I mean, some topics, there are no right or wrong answers.
Right.
Just people do things differently. And so I thought that was really intriguing, just hearing all these different perspectives of the people and, why they do what they do and kind of just bouncing ideas off each other. So I thought that was really great part about this forum that did make it different than other groups, other, kind of conferences, things like that, because there weren't any sales pitches. There weren't any, things that it's like, oh, I'm pushing a particular agenda. It's just truly, I want to share knowledge and get knowledge from other like-minded folks.
Yeah, it's a camaraderie and a fraternity, if you will, in many ways. It's male, it's female, it's the person who's here for 2 years and the person's been here for 25 years or 35 years. So you get a full perspective of the industry and where we've come, where we're going, that kind of stuff. And everyone's there to help each other. And we kind of a tagline, what goes on at the forum stays at the forum. While it's not Vegas, it's it's performance measurement, but people are candid and they're not afraid to share.
So what types of firms typically participate in the forum, and then also like what type of people come? Like, what are their roles? Why do people kind of attend and for their various jobs?
Sure. I mean, most of the people originally were institutional asset managers, and then the vendors, software vendors that supported them. So First Rate was a member very early on, as were some other vendors, and we actually limited the number of vendors because, as you said, people don't want to be sold to. Not that that goes on, but obviously there's going to be some amount of that, and if you're sharing with your competitor, trade secrets, so to speak, that might not look good, but. Typically, it's institutional asset manager, but now it's grown into asset owners, custodial banks, GIPS verifiers, and obviously the vendors that support that. And it's great to get so many different perspectives from those different angles and viewpoints. What am I seeing from the institutional asset management side that might help an asset owner who's dealing with private equity? How am I calculating that? Where am I getting my feeds for benchmark data? And so that kind of stuff is great. And as I mentioned earlier, it could be someone that's there for 2-3 years, and Dave Spaulding or John Simpson or Steve Campese. So big names that participate, and obviously people just starting out. So it's good. And it's funny, you never thought in this industry there'd be like performance gurus or even the kind of, not groupies, but they'd be like, oh my God, it's so and so, or
it's celebrities in the industry. So you want to meet somebody famous? Come to come to the forum.
That's right. The first forum was December '98 in New York at the Marriott World Trade Center. I don't think it's there anymore, but the first keynote speaker was Jack Trainer.
Oh, wow.
He flew in on a red eye. I remember, wow, Jack Trainer's here. So obviously Trainer ratio and Sortino ratio all go hand in hand. But when you meet the people, you're like, wow, you're responsible for that. So
yeah, when you meet somebody, it's like, oh, I like something is named after you. It's like, wow, it's a pretty incredible experience. So I think you mentioned earlier, this is the 101st forum.
Yep.
So, what do you feel has been accomplished in the first 100 forums, and then what would you like to see accomplished in the next 100?
Sure. I'd say what's been accomplished is people have helped each other. That's the basis of the forum. It's the discussion. It's what can I take back home and immediately apply to my firm, my organization, and that's probably why people keep coming back. In terms of the industry, a lot of people don't know this, but the CIPM, its roots are in the Performance Measurement Forum. So in it was 2015, the forum created a blue ribbon committee. We created a nonprofit. We had members in Europe, in the EMEA, and members in North America. And we got together. We worked on it about a year and a half. We came up with questions. We're going to do a grassroots effort to kind of create this standard. We found out that CFA was going to do it, and we didn't want to compete with them. We didn't want to have dueling standards, and we knew that CFA could do a good job. So we turned over our entire work product to CFA, and that became the basis of what is now the CIPM. It was CGIPS, which was interesting, and then it became CIPM. And so a lot of our members stayed on. Big names like Carl Bacon and John Simpson, they stayed on to help craft the CIPM, and obviously it's evolved over the years. So that's probably one of the biggest things that the forum worked on that many people don't know about.
Oh, I have a CIPM, and I didn't even know that's where it came from. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of the source material in the CIPM came from the Journal of Performance Measurement, and so we helped feed that as well. Another thing that came out of the forum is data quality standards that we just finished working on. They'll be released in the next issue of the Journal of Performance Measurement. Another group of 4 members put together, met every month, and kind of hammered out what would be best quality, for data standards. Not requirements, not standards, but, here's an idea of best practices in the industry.
Wow.
So.
That's pretty incredible. So it sounds like the forum's really done a lot to help standardize the performance measurement industry and really help people get on the same page. Because, as we found out, or I found out during this forum, I mean, we had people from the U.S., Europe, the Middle East, all over the world, and people are facing similar types of issues. I mean, it may be different places, different languages, but the
Right.
same challenges and same questions. And so
Yep.
that's great that there is a forum that people can go to help answer those kinds of things.
Yep.
Because we're in a pretty global time of the world, and so we're not siloed, and we don't have to try to figure all these out on our own,
Right.
and
Right.
get some standard practices going.
Yeah, and it's nice to see the difference between U.S. and Europe and Canada and Europe and Middle East, and just get all those different mindsets and collectively put them together and find out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And so, you have two forums in the North America each year and two forums in Europe each year. So, what are some of the main differences that I guess have you noticed between like the North American and the European forums, and what are some similarities that you see
Sure.
between them?
Well, we talked about how everyone comes down to common issues or that they're dealing with, so that's a commonality between the two. U.S. obviously, we're very GIPS focused, regulatory, a lot of SEC stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes up a lot more in discussion in North America.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Europe, I think we get a little more granular. We're talking more about multi-currency attribution, and that's every day for performance analysts here in Europe. So that's kind of the main difference. You may drill down a little more technical in Europe, whereas the U.S. we can get hung up on some of the regulations, but it all drills down to the same problems, same issues, same solutions in a lot of ways.
So then, final question would be: we've had these. So what would you want to see? Kind of going forward. Like what kind of or maybe not regulations, but what kind of standardization would you like to see that hasn't been accomplished yet, or what are some ways that you'd like to see the forum evolve?
Right. So it came up today. After tax seems to be hot and cold, hot and cold. There was actually standards or not requirements, but recommendations written by CFA group back in the day. Then it kind of died out. Now you're seeing it kind of resurface again.
Yep.
So I would never recommend standards per se, but definitely some guidance around that, or at least resurfacing what the CFA had worked on originally. I think the goal for the group as a whole is just to continue to grow and attract new minds and make sure that what we learned in the past we can continue in the future. So new faces and mixing that with, not to say old faces, but seasoned veterans. So we can continue the journey.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you joining me on this episode and getting the opportunity to come film in Scotland. So this has been absolutely incredible experience. The forum's been wonderful. So thank you again, and
thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, and we'll see you on TSG time soon too.
Absolutely.